G'day guys, and today it's time for an Australian election analysis. Now we're exactly at time of recording 2 weeks out from the election, which will occur on May 18th, and as expected, the main parties, or every party, is beginning to campaign a little bit harder. And what you begin to see is that the gloves are coming off and the low blows are starting to come out. So what I'm going to talk about today is something that has occurred to various people around the world, not just necessarily in politics, but is the combing through of their social media presences to find things that would be disagreeable and then bringing that into the light in order to get them to drop out or to put them in the spotlight and make them uncomfortable and that sort of thing. So this has happened to 6 candidates so far. We don't know at this time who else has got skeletons in the closet, so to speak. Some of these things are not as edgy as perhaps they really are, but it's not very politically correct to speak about them, and so in order to save their careers and save faces, people are dropping out and they're not standing their ground. They're being bus tossed essentially. So this is coming from the Poll Bludger, which is a aggregating polling site for Australian politics. Of course, you should never just use a single polling site because they're always wrong, always biased in some capacity, but if you lump them all together, well then you might be on to something. You know, the left-wing bias of some polls can be balanced out by the right-wing bias of some others. So they've recorded who's been ousted. So we have the second candidate on Labor's Northern Territory Senate ticket, Wayne Kernof, was found to have shared anti-Semitic videos on Facebook in 2015. One of which featured popular British conspiracy theorist David Icke's thesis that the world is run by shape-shifting Jewish lizards. So Bill Shorten, the leader of the Australian Labor Party, has distanced himself from Kernof, asserting that he has never met him, a claim that was proven false by a photo of the two that shortly emerged. So another zombie Senate candidate is Steve Dickson, who placed second on One Nation's ticket in Queensland. That's sort of their, quote, safe seat, or safe state. So Dickson held the state seat of Bundarim for One Nation for most of 2017, having previously been a Liberal National Party member since 2012. His troubles arose earlier this week when footage emerged of him offering poetic musings on the art of love while in a strip club, which is, not where you'd expect the most deep and thoughtful comments on love to arrive, specifically relating to the deficiencies in that field of Asian chicks. So this revelation for some reason reduced Pauline Hanson, the leader of One Nation, to tears during one of her daily appearances on commercial network television on Wednesday. Isn't that a double whammy? You got racial instigation in there and also sexual instigation. It's just a terrible look. And that's another thing that can be done. Hidden cameras and that sort of thing, as well as combing through people's social media. I'm assuming he didn't put that video up. And no, he didn't. It was a video. So you have Labor's candidate for Melbourne, Luke Ricci, withdrew yesterday, 2 days after a report appeared in The Australian regarding his social media activity in 2012. At which time he was a 22-year-old university student. Now obviously he was on the social media, and the most publicised of his infractions was to click like on what who know their way around the internet would recognise as a psycho girlfriend meme, in this case involving a joke about false rape accusations. He had first offered only an apology for what he acknowledged as stupid and immature behaviour, but a divide reportedly opened up within the party between Creasy's own left faction, the socialistic faction of the Labor Party, who wanted him to tough it out, and some on the right, the sort of centrist faction, who insisted he be dumped. Importantly, the Australian reports the latter included Noah Carroll and Sam Ray, respectively the party's national and state secretaries. Now, this is something that I don't think he should have apologised for. That was a bad idea. That just made him look weak. Who cares if a 22-year-old person likes a Facebook meme? It's totally innocuous. That was like 7 years ago. That's not indicative of any personal traits that he may have now. That's not indicative of any policies he's going to make. What is he going to do? Introduce an anti-psycho girlfriend bill to the Senate? It's completely ridiculous. So obviously he shouldn't have backed down. He shouldn't have apologized. He just said, yeah, what the hell? What does it matter? I was 22 years old and I liked a meme on Facebook or whatever. That's not a problem. But of course, when you apologize, all you end up doing is ensuring the alligators eat you last, so to speak. It's never enough for these people. They will just... an apology is a sign of weakness. And what's interesting to see here is that a report appeared in The Australian, which is a right-leaning newspaper, which clearly indicates that, possibly for fiscal but also career advancement, which I suppose is fiscal in its own right. Purpose is journalists are combing through politicians' dirty laundry, so to speak, which is very interesting. So Isaac's candidate, Jeremy Hearn, was one of the 2 Liberals to announce his withdrawal on Wednesday. After he emerged, he had written a number of comments on Facebook to the effect that the Muslim community wished to overthrow the Australian government and institute Sharia law. Now again, if you're going to write something on Facebook as a politician, you shouldn't back down. You should believe in what... If he doesn't actually believe in this, then why did he write it? And if he does believe in it, why is he backing down? It's a bad look either way, so... But again, it's a conversation that needs to be had, because that is true. The Muslim community does wish to overthrow the Australian government, not in a violent sense necessarily, but they do want to replace what we have and institute Sharia law, certainly. Not all of them have a respect for our enlightened ways. I mean that literally. Also pulling the plug on Wednesday was the Liberal candidate for Wills, Peter Killam, who wrote on a Christian Conservative forum in 2016, again a couple of years ago, that its readers should have participated in the Liberal peace election in Goldstein, as their doing would have ensured the defeat of the homosexual MP Tim Wilson. Now again, if he doesn't believe in this, why does he post it? If he does believe in it, why does he back down? You should be grounded and based in your beliefs. I respect someone who's, some hardline socialist or a communist or whatever, if they stand their ground, rather than someone who just meekly conforms to whatever is politically correct at the time. Again, voting against someone just because of their sexual preferences, that's stupid, but again, standing your ground, I would respect that more than what he's done. So Jessica Whelan withdrew as the Liberal candidate for Lions yesterday over anti-Muslim posts on Facebook, although she says she will continue to campaign as an independent. Whelan's problems began on Wednesday when the Mercury reported that she had posted that Muslims should not be allowed to live in Australia, and that Donald Trump should deal with Muslim-sympathetic feminists by giving them clitoridectomies and selling them to Muslim countries. That is, giving them this sort of female genital mutilation by any other name. She initially responded that the screenshots were fabricated, and referred the matter to the Australian Federal Police. The leader of the Liberal Party, Scott Morrison's, his position on Thursday was that this was good enough for him, although he appeared to go to some lengths to avoid getting too close to Whelan when the two appeared together at a pre-arranged promotional opportunity at an agricultural show. Obviously he's concerned about his optics. However, Whelan appeared to change her mind about both the views expressed and their having been fabricated when she announced her withdrawal yesterday, prompting Morrison to complain that he had been lied to. See, no matter what happens, he's always in the right. That's pretty funny. Politicians are shifty like that. The Liberals will now encourage supporters to vote for the Nationals candidate, Dina Hutchinson. So of course they're now distancing themselves as a party from this lady. So that's quite a diverse range of politicians either quitting, withdrawing, or running as independents. I believe that was one Nation senator, 2 Labour senators, and then 3 Liberal Party senators, which indicates to me that people on all sides of the political spectrum are capitalising on this potential weakness, which is people's social media history. From a strategic point of view, this is a very good idea. You don't need to engage with complex ideas and go through debates, especially if you're a weak speaker, when you can just, knock someone out with some age-old, dredged-up body, essentially, from their social media. It's a very lazy and dishonourable tactic in my mind. You shouldn't need to attack someone's personal character or what they did in the past. You should be able to just shred their ideas by letting them speak and then exposing the inconsistencies within their argument. So I don't personally like this, but again, from a strategic point of view, I can understand why it is being done. If any more of this is to come out, it will be coming out rather shortly, because as I mentioned previously, we're about 2 weeks out from the election. So obviously, when you want to drop something like this, you don't want to drop it too early, because it can be carpet swept and forgot about as new scandals and things arise in the news cycle. So what you want to do is you want to drop it nice and close to the election so people go into the voting booth thinking about it. So if there's going to be any dirt dropped on, say, a high level politician such as the leaders of the major parties, it would be occurring around about now. That's all I got on this at the moment. I'll make sure to keep you posted if any major scandals arrive, and as always, thanks for sticking around, and have a good one.